Hello indie game fan, big games are dropping left and right this week, which means a smaller than usual number of new releases, but it's packed full of chaos, as well as not one but two rhythm runner games for some reason. So let's begin with Spell Disc, an action roguelike that looks decent, with the main gimmick of being able to build your own synergy spell combos. As such, it does seem to be at least a little inspired by Wizard of Legend and looks like it's for fans of the genre. When I spoke of chaos, KallaX was one of the games that I was referring to, since it's an Overcooked-like top-down co-op title, but where you're essentially building and constructing off-brand IKEA furniture with your friends. Only one player can read the instruction manual at any one time, so you can imagine the sorts of miscommunication and hilarity that will result from this, where you do have the option of jettisoning unhelpful friends into space. There are 25 pieces of furniture, along with their variants, so figuring out how to assemble it while under time pressure is the perfect recipe and should be fun with friends. Hey, if you made it this far, subscribe to my weekly newsletter to keep on top of all things indie games, link in the description below. This next title got on my radar a little while back, primarily due to its art style and colour palette chosen, since it does give Wetory a little bit of a unique look. This is an action roguelite set in claustrophobic environments in which enemies swarm you from all sides, but do not mistake this for a bullet heaven title, where I do think that this is more Isaac inspired instead. Additionally, the gimmick is that the character cannot directly attack, instead having to avoid enemies and to use the environment to your advantage, certainly being one of the more unique entries. It comes to us from a Korean developer, so it might have some different design choices. A game that looks impressive but isn't really my kind of thing is Airship Kingdoms Adrift, a strategy simulation title in which you're attempting to build your own merchant network of airships across the world. You have to purchase ships, recruit captains, establish trade routes, create industries and more, all set in a political tense backdrop of warring nations. It looks very ambitious, since in addition to the management aspect, there is real-time aerial combat as well that does suspiciously resemble naval ship combat and also has more RPG style systems and quests, with you directly in the captain's seat. As such, it has, for good reason, garnered a decent amount of hype, so if it looks interesting, be sure to pick it up later this week. Speaking of ambitious, I know that zombie games are overdone. Trust me, I made a video on this a little while back, but for some reason, HumanitZ looks good and might be of interest. This is a co-op open-world survival game in a zombie apocalypse where you're trying to survive, with of course the genre tropes of having to go out to scavenge for resources or trying to avoid death. I don't think that the simulation will be as detailed as that of Project Zomboid, nor will it have that DayZ kind of multiplayer role-playing experience, but as a co-op focused title, it might be neat with friends, and yes, of course, this will be an early access release.
Water, earth, fire, air.
Bigger games begin with Avatar: The Last Airbender Quest for Balance, which is definitely not a small indie game, but I'm surprised to see another licensed Avatar game being made, this time being an action-adventure title that closely follows the show, and after the travesty that is the mobile title.
This is the legacy of the Avatars, and these are their stories.
Look how they massacred my boy.
I suppose at least we have this? One of the biggest releases of the week comes to us from Korean developer NeoWiz and is the grimdark Souls-like RPG Lies of P, set in the late 19th century in France with a reimagining of the story of Pinocchio. According to recent feedback, the developers seem to have tightened things up in terms of combat, so it should be good to get your Souls-like fix with this. Smaller games begin with dEskape, a semi-idle base building game which is playable on the bottom parts of your desktop, allowing you to watch YouTube videos while playing this, so go pick it up and watch all my videos. Thanks! We also have the early access release of Dungeon, a roguelite turn-based RPG set in a classic fantasy world, where it sure reminds me of other CRPGs of the world with the combat. If you're a fan of monster collecting titles with turn-based combat like Pokemon, Evolings might be of interest since it's a roguelite title with replayability, and while games like Abomination have tried this to moderate success, this game is another swing at the idea and does have more minimalist monster designs. The first of two rhythm runner titles is Life is Not Auto, a self-described rhythm plus survival timing-based game. Curiously, you're controlling the organs of the character, having to hit buttons to the beat to manage stress, hunger and thirst, looking like quite the challenge since the character will die if those bars deplete, so it is not as cute as it may seem.
Hey there, partner!
Despite the adorable look of this game, which has a pixel art style inspired by GBA and NDS games, the Bunny Graveyard is actually a horror game in which the bunny finds out about the horrifying truth behind their existence and is kind of creepy as well. I usually cut out developer/publisher/engine logos from the raw trailers since I think that this helps the video flow better, but had to leave it in for this one since I've heard that little jingle at the start of BIT.TRIP Re-Runner so many times while playing their previous games, especially Runner 2, and yes, Commander Video is back for another installment. This is one of the OG indie game characters and is pretty iconic, with this promising to have new mechanics, plus it now includes Runner Maker if you want to create your own levels, and hopefully there will be a vibrant community of people creating for this game.
The apocalypse wasn't the end of the world, just the one we knew. New dangers have emerged and lurk around every corner. Only the extraordinary have survived this wasteland. We will do anything to find sanctuary.
The latest iteration of Atari seems to be knowing what they're doing, since gone are the speaker hats and hotels, and in are titles like Atari 50, as well as their growing publishing presence, including games like Days of Doom. This is a roguelite tactical RPG with combat taking place on a grid set in some sort of post-apocalyptic wasteland, which is not just limited to zombies, but includes raiders, mutants, and more. Your party of survivors is attempting to reach a place known as Sanctuary, which, according to other zombie fiction, might not exactly be the best idea. The art style does look kind of sick and has 8 character classes to mix and match, along with meta progression from run to run, such as increasing party size, and should be a good game. If you're an indie developer and have no idea how to start with marketing your game, get on my mailing list via the link in the description below, where I'll send you some free templates and guides soon. It's time to put up or shut up for party animals, since on paper this is the most followed game on Steam, which I believe should translate into millions of wishlists, far surpassing Starfield and even Silksong, so these are high expectations for sure. This is the second Chaos-filled title, since it's a multiplayer brawler along the lines of Gang Beasts, but with wobbly, adorable animals instead. The levels and environments do look awesome, as is the variety of weapons and ways that you can beat up or throw your opponent into hazards, looking pretty fun and cute. This gorgeous title also revealed its release after I previewed the Games of the Month, where Astria 6-Sided Oracles is a roguelite dice builder title in which you are choosing which dice to place in your pool so that you have options in combat. The duality of the combat system here is neat, with purification versus corruption, where the former allows you to heal yourself and damage enemies, while the latter is the inverse, damaging yourself and increasing your corruption level while healing enemies, but in doing so gives you access to powerful abilities. As such, it's something new to wrap your head around, as compared to, say, the hundreds of Slay the Spire clones out there, and with 6 playable characters which are supposed to be unique, has plenty of variety. Also, another nice note is that this is not an early access release, so the developers have spent considerable time and energy on this game, so here's hoping it works out for them. This pixel art farm simulation deck building monster taming life sim RPG title is a lot of things, but Moonstone Island has long been on my watchlist for how vibrant it looks. Combining Stardew Valley with Pokemon is a no-brainer idea, with the backdrop of you being an alchemy student, having to spend a year away from home and on this new island in order to complete your studies. It does have the expected genre norms like romanceable NPCs, but the monster taming part simply intrigues me and looks excellent, and you can find more relaxing indie games to chill out to in this video.